The Introvert Advantage. Matthew Pollard and Derek Lewis. The Introvert Advantage is one of the most influential books on sales. Matthew Pollard, with the help of author Derek Lewis, provides a new perspective on how introverts can excel in a field that is thought to require a bold, outgoing personality. The basic premise of the book is that introverts, thanks to their unique nature, can be extremely successful in sales and may even outperform extroverts if they use strategies that suit their personality. The book is based on Pollard's personal experience. He was an introvert who had difficulty communicating and selling, but he discovered that success in sales does not depend on superficial social skills, but on planning, active listening, and the ability to solve problems. Chapter 1. Busting the Myth. Sales isn't just for extroverts. 1. Does sales need extroverted personalities? There is a common belief that success in sales depends on charisma, boldness, and the ability to speak smoothly, which makes many introverts believe that this field is not for them. But Pollard explains that this idea is completely wrong because selling is not just quick persuasion, but rather a strategic process that relies on a deep understanding of the customer's needs, which is a core strength of introverts. 2. Why do introverts think they are not suitable for sales? The author reviews the reasons that make introverts feel uncomfortable with the idea of selling, including the belief that selling means insistence and strong persuasion, fear of excessive communication and social pressure, the belief that they lack the quick verbal skills required for persuasion. But the truth, according to Pollard, is that sales does not require these things, but rather the ability to listen, analyze, and plan, all of which are natural skills for introverts. Chapter 2. The Hidden Strengths of Introverts in Sales. 1. Deep listening. The golden skill of introverts. One of the biggest strengths of introverts is their ability to listen well, as they don't interrupt customers while they're talking. Wait until they understand the problem before offering a solution. Show genuine interest, which helps them build trust quickly. 2. Planning and organization. The key to sales excellence. Unlike extroverts who may rely on momentary inspiration and quick talk, introverts prefer to plan every step in advance, which makes them more prepared in meetings and presentations. 3. Building deep relationships. The Introvert Advantage. Introverts don't seek superficial relationships, but rather focus on real connection. This enables them to build long-term relationships with customers, leading to lasting loyalty and repeat business. Chapter 3. The 7-Step Sales System for Introverts. The book provides a practical framework that introverts can follow to achieve success in sales without having to act out of character. 1. Build trust with the customer. Don't try to be an overly extroverted person. Start with questions instead of talking about the product directly. Show genuine interest in the customer's needs. 2. Ask the right questions. Instead of trying to convince the customer, let them realize the need for your product. Use smart questions like, what is the biggest challenge you are facing now? Or, what are you looking for in a solution to this problem? 3. Provide solutions based on the customer's needs. Don't present the product as a general solution, but rather link it to the customer's problems. Use clear and simple language and avoid exaggeration. 4. Overcome customer objections strategically. Don't try to argue, but listen carefully to understand the reason for the objection. Rephrase the objection in a way that shows you understand, then offer a solution based on that. 5. Use storytelling to persuade customers. People remember stories more than dry facts, so use them in your pitch. For example, instead of saying, our product is 30% faster, tell a story of a customer who used it and had real success. 6. Close the deal naturally. Don't pressure the customer to complete the purchase. If the customer feels convinced, he or she will move on to the purchase decision. 7. Follow up and build long-term relationships. Success in sales is not about one deal. It's about building an ongoing relationship with the customer. Follow up with the customer after the purchase and ask them about their experience. Chapter 4. Applying Strategies to Everyday Life. The book is not just about sales. It shows how introverts can use these skills in their everyday lives, such as Build a strong network without feeling socially exhausted. Speak confidently in meetings without having to be the most talkative. Negotiating effectively in business and personal life. Chapter 5. Introvert Success Stories in Sales. Pollard shares real stories of introverts who became successful in sales, such as a salesman who suffered from shyness, but used storytelling to become one of the best sellers in his company. An entrepreneur who was afraid of public speaking, but used advanced planning to deliver successful presentations. About their book summary, introverts have a competitive advantage in sales. Introversion is not a weakness, but a strength that can be used strategically. Selling is not about talking a lot, but about deeply understanding the needs of customers. Building long-term relationships is more important than closing quick deals. Storytelling is the secret weapon of introverts in persuasion. Who is this book for? Any introvert who thinks they are not suited for sales. Entrepreneurs who want to improve their communication and persuasion skills. Anyone who works in a field that requires interaction with customers. In his book, The Introvert Advantage, Matthew Pollard discusses many real-life stories that show how introverts were able to achieve success in the world of sales and business, even though they did not believe they had the necessary skills. Here are some of these stories with an analysis of how their heroes took advantage of their innate strengths to excel in their fields. 1. Matthew Pollard's own story from a shy, introverted young man to a world-class sales expert. The beginning of the story, an introverted young man who hated sales. Matthew Pollard was a very shy person at the beginning of his life, and he had no experience in sales. When he started his first job in sales, he faced a big problem because he hated the idea of talking to strangers or trying to convince them. He did not have the charisma that successful salespeople have, and he was thinking about quitting after the first week. Transformation. Finding a way that suits his personality. Pollard decided to analyze the way the best salespeople in the company worked, but he noticed that they were using methods that were not suitable for him, such as constant talking and insistence. Instead of trying to imitate them, he decided to create his own style based on listening deeply to the customer instead of talking all the time. Preparing a solid sales scenario so that he knows what to say in every situation. Using stories to convince customers instead of presenting boring numbers and statistics. The result? Unexpected success. In a few weeks, Matthew went from being the worst salesperson in the company to becoming the best salesperson. After that, he founded several successful companies and became one of the most famous sales trainers in the world, especially for introverts. He became convinced that introverts can excel in sales without having to change their nature. 2. The story of the salesman who could not speak fluently. The problem: an introvert who suffers from stuttering and shyness in speaking. One of the people Pollard trained had a problem with stuttering and shyness when talking to customers. He worked in sales, but felt nervous in every meeting and avoided eye contact with customers. He thought that sales required quick wit and a lot of talking, and he didn't have that. The solution: changed the approach to sales by listening. Pollard advised him to stop trying to convince customers by talking and instead start asking questions that would get the customer to talk more. He started using questions like, "What is the biggest problem you are currently facing? How will solving this problem impact your business? What have you tried before that didn't work?" The result: customers started convincing themselves. He discovered that customers started talking about their problems for a long time, which made him not need to talk as much. Instead of trying to convince them, he started listening to them and then offering a solution that works for them based on what they themselves said. In a few months, he became one of the best salesmen on his team, even though he thought sales wasn't for him. 3. The story of the entrepreneur who feared meetings and presentations. The problem: an entrepreneur who feared speaking in front of investors and clients. There was a businesswoman who owned a startup, but she had a hard time convincing investors and clients about her idea. She hated presentations, and she felt nervous when speaking in front of a group of people. The solution: used storytelling instead of straightforward persuasion. Pollard advised her to stop giving a dry technical presentation and instead start telling a personal story about why she started this company. She wrote a story about how she faced a certain problem and couldn't find a solution, So she decided to start her company to provide that solution. She also started using her existing clients' success stories to convince new investors. The result: unexpected success in convincing investors. When she presented her presentation in a storytelling style, she noticed that investors began to care more and emotionally engage with her. She was able to close a huge investment deal after presenting in a storytelling style, even though she didn't use any traditional persuasion skills. 4. The story of the engineer who thought sales wasn't for him. The problem: an engineer who had a great product but couldn't sell it. There was a talented engineer who invented a new technological device, but he couldn't convince investors and customers to buy it. He believed that sales required a bold personality, and he preferred to work quietly at his desk. The solution: shift from selling to educating. Instead of trying to sell his product in a traditional way, he started teaching customers about the real benefits of the device. He used a questioning approach such as, "Are you facing this problem in your business? Have you tried other solutions that didn't work? What if there was an easier and cheaper solution to this problem?" The result: increased sales without any urgency. He discovered that customers started asking him about the product themselves after he explained the problem to them. He no longer felt like he was pressuring people to buy the product, but rather became someone who was consulted to solve problems. After a few months, his sales increased by 40% without him having to change his personality or style. Lessons learned from these stories: introverts can succeed in sales, but in a way that suits them. Selling is not about talking a lot, but listening and understanding the customer's needs. Storytelling is more powerful than using dry numbers and statistics. Sales is not a trick. It is about providing the right solution to the right person. If you are an introvert, don't try to become an extrovert, but use your strengths such as deep thinking and good planning.